New York, Mr. LaLota for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Status of forces agreements are the compacts the Department of Defense has in place with friendly foreign nations who host U.S. troops overseas. Among other things, these agreements assure that when deployed U.S. forces are accused of crimes by our allies, our troops are afforded the proper protocols and American civil rights, such as a right to counsel of their choice, an interpreter, a bar against pretrial confinement when accused of a nonviolent crime. And for decades, United States forces have been stationed in and deployed to Japan, one of our greatest allies in the Western Pacific. And our nation's military cooperation has been a strong source of stability for the Western Pacific in the face of real threats from China and North Korea. Also for decades, military men and women stationed in and deployed to Japan have operated with the understanding that if they were accused of a nonviolent crime in Japan, they would be afforded basic civil rights. Contrary to that understanding, Ridge Alkonis, a United States Navy surface warfare officer stationed in Japan, subsequent to being involved in a vehicular accident where everybody agrees no drugs or alcohol was involved, was arrested, confined pre-trial, denied access to his own attorney, and denied access to a translator. And subsequent to the denial of these rights, and while sleep-deprived, Ridge Alkonis was coerced to confessing and forced to personally pay about $1 million in restitution. Ridge Alkonis is now serving a 3-year sentence in a Japanese jail. General Richardson, you command forces in and around 32 different nations, and General Van Herk, your command reaches 3 foreign nations from what I understand. Can you each describe the importance of valid and enforceable status of forces agreements, and what does the lack of them do, especially with respect to operationally and otherwise, for our forces' morale and effectiveness?
So thank you for the question. I think it's very important, and for the few countries—
Would you pull the mic a little bit closer? We can't hear you.
Yes, sir. So very important in terms of the status of forces agreements, and for the few countries that don't have the SOFA in place yet, that is one of the first things that I bring up when I meet with the leaders when I travel to the region. And explaining the importance of it and what it really means, right? I think that in some cases that is not fully understood. And so being able to describe it and explain it helps a lot. And so much so that enables, then we've had a couple cases where we've been able to get that across the goal line, as I would say, where we've been able to get a SOFA put in place that wasn't there previously.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's crucial to have a good SOFA in place. We just have a new one in Bahamas put in place. Without that, our folks are at risk serving there to what we would expect for due process here in the United States as well. And this puts us at a common place to negotiate when we start with any country where we're serving, have a foundation going forward when there's instances as you described.
And General Richardson, of the 32 nations in your AOR, about how many do you not have status of forces agreements with?
So the exact number I will get to you for sure, but it's we have more than we don't. And so, and as I said, we will continue to aggressively work that to protect our service members and ensure the countries that they know that this isn't just a way to, allow our service members to be able to do something and then not be held accountable. We hold our service members accountable when appropriate, and we will take care of that and make sure that happens. And so that education piece is really important.
Thank you. And Ms. Dalton, what is the Department of Defense doing to get a valid and enforceable status of forces agreement in place with Japan so that our troops can operate with the confidence they deserve?
Congressman, thank you for the question. I'll have to take that back to our team that works the Indo-Pacific. Thank you.
Ms. Dalton, will you commit to bringing this issue to Secretary Austin and express to him how important this committee thinks it is?
I will.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.